Hey, coach, we're just a few weeks into 2026. And if you've been listening to any marketing content since the new year hit, you're probably hearing a lot of marketers say that marketing just feels harder than it used to. And I get it. I've been marketing for over 20 years. A lot has changed, but a lot is still very much the same. So in this episode, I'm going to break down why this is such a hot topic, how we got here, and what actually works now. Here's what I see happening. Most people are running outdated marketing models, or they're using models that were intended for a different purpose. Some marketers are teaching models that maybe they were taught, but they haven't actually put into practice. I know you're here because you want to grow your coaching practice. So let's take a look at how the digital landscape has changed and the evolution of marketing models. At its core, marketing is solving for one thing: growth in the context of buyer behavior. The traditional marketing models were developed in a time where buyers had less information, fewer options, and a lot less noise. Today, buyers are more informed or misinformed, way more distracted, and a lot more skeptical. And that mismatch is where the friction comes in. So instead of jumping into tactics today, I want to take a step back and zoom out and walk you through how marketing is different, what has evolved, and what this evolution means for you as a coach trying to grow your coaching practice. Now, if we go back to the early days of the internet, I'm talking 2000 to 2010, the internet rewarded one skill: information retrieval. If you knew things, you could publish them and you won. Google was all the rage. People were talking about SEO, blogs, and forums. Knowledge itself was the leverage. Then from 2010 to about where we are now, the bottleneck shifted. The problem was no longer access to information. It was all about attention. You weren't competing for expertise. You were competing for seconds of attention. And I know from talking to a lot of coaches that you felt this shift deeply. Suddenly, knowing things was no longer enough, and you're competing against every content creator, every influencer, and your little sister for just enough time to be able to demonstrate that you have value to share. And that's the environment that we have been marketing in. But I feel like it's shifting again. The era of attention didn't just change the way platforms operate from follower-based algorithms to interest-based algorithms, but it completely changed expectations of everyone consuming content. Content volume has exploded. AI has dramatically increased the baseline of good enough content, and in fact, now being referred to as AI slop. The sea of sameness in content is overwhelming and creating extreme fatigue. Now, don't get me wrong, there's an extreme upside. Now, your content isn't restricted to being viewed by just your followers. Now you have the opportunity to create content that targets itself and can reach your ideal client. So there are some good things, but let's pause for a moment on the sea of sameness. The same hooks, the same formats, the same talking points. You scroll your feed and it just feels like nothing new, nothing unique, nothing breaks through. Our brains are wired to just ignore and keep scrolling. When you layer in influencer fatigue and the mistrust of digital product sellers, AI-generated content, and just the sheer exhaustion of volume of content, we've created an environment with much longer buying cycles and much more skeptical buyers. This is exactly why strategy matters more than ever. You can't outvolume this environment, but you can cut through with clarity, a unique perspective, and connection. So I have some good news for you. What audiences want today actually makes content creation a lot lighter. People don't want overly polished, overly rehearsed, overly produced content. They want someone who actually understands them, proof that you've done the thing, real insight into how the results are created, and a perspective that helps them see the situation and themselves differently. Connection, proof, and perspective. As coaches, you do this every day with your clients. The opportunity now is to build a content strategy and a marketing system that lets those qualities be visible consistently. Now, I mentioned that things were shifting again, and we are entering what I think is now going to be coined the era of perspective. The value is shifting away from attention only to this place of perspective. People do not need more content. They need your help understanding where they should focus their energy when they have time to consume content. This next era, the era of perspective, is one that will reward clarity, discernment, emotional intelligence, relatability, and a thoughtful point of view, helping people understand themselves, their goals, and their best next step. That's nothing new for coaches. That's your work. Now, considering all that, let's take a look at how marketing models have evolved. The traditional marketing model was built on one assumption. If we apply enough pressure, people will move faster. We take them from awareness to consideration to decision. The goal was speed. And as I mentioned, the mechanism was pressure. The entire strategy around the funnel is control. This worked when buyers had limited options and trust was assumed, and a handful of touch points were enough to close a sale. But that world doesn't really exist anymore. People don't want pressure. They don't want to be squeezed down a funnel. They don't want urgency unless it's initiated by them. They don't want to be handled. They want to be in control. This is why funnel marketing gives you the ick to run. Inbound marketing was the first big correction. Instead of leading with pressure, it introduced permission. Teach first, help first, attract instead of interrupt. This was a pretty massive psychological shift in marketing. We went from pure persuasion to education, from interruption to attraction, and from control to permission. But inbound sort of had a blind spot because it really focused on acquisition, and it left marketing pretty siloed from sales, delivery, and maximizing customer lifetime value. But pretty quickly off the introduction of solely inbound marketing, people started to discuss the flywheel. The flywheel communicated that growth doesn't come from acquisition alone, that it comes from the customer experience, that the start of the relationship, someone becoming a customer, is only the beginning of their journey, and that customers had a powerful effect on creating word of mouth and referrals. It helped everyone see that customers weren't the end of the journey. They could become the engine. Retention, referrals, community, it all mattered. And marketing needed to have impact on all of the stages. This did help businesses grow more sustainably, but it still assumed that as buyers entered the flywheel, they were ready to purchase, or that they needed nurturing or more pressure to make that decision. And now more recently, you'll hear concepts like loop marketing or adaptive marketing be in the discussion. The idea here is that your system is not set. Successful marketing relies on continuous feedback, continuous optimization, and improvement. Your marketing system must learn and adapt over time. And this is a powerful insight, especially considering the impact of AI and how this can improve and further personalize the marketing system. But it doesn't fully solve the pre-decision confusion problem. 2026 and beyond is really a buyer-led marketing model. People buy when they understand themselves and they trust the guide. If you're spending your time convincing someone, you're wasting your time. Instead of pushing people through the stages of a funnel, it's the job of marketing to create content and experiences that help them move at their own pace toward the goal that they have, with confidence that you can help them. A buyer-led marketing model has 3 key phases, and it should be intuitive that each are buyer-led. Understanding the problem, understanding the process, and evaluating the payoff should they decide to move forward. If you push the payoff too soon, people reject it. If you introduce the process or your method too early, people think you're pushy. So the real question becomes, what does this person need to understand next? Answering that in your content and your experiences is buyer-led marketing. So why does this matter to fitness coaches? Your content has to be strategic. You need deep audience understanding, and you need deep self-clarity. Your content has to reflect your beliefs, your perspective, your style, your methods, and your timing. It has to be responsive. Your content should create the signal of interest. And when that signal is given, you have to connect. So let's get tactical in terms of reframing our mindset away from what am I posting today to who am I teaching and what phase are they in? Do they understand the problem? How am I empathizing, connecting, sharing beliefs, shifting perspective, and guiding them towards the next best step? Are they process aware? What do I need to teach them in terms of frameworks, principles, methods to understand that the results are on the other end for them? And how can I get them to sample the payoff, to get excited about making the decision? Through proof, through consults, through a clear offer. Marketing's job is to make sales easier. Remember, we're not convincing anyone anymore. We're not putting pressure on them to move through the funnel. We're building trust, we're warming people up, and we're helping them choose confidently. Funnels are going to optimize for conversion. Inbound marketing or permission-based marketing, for a tactical example, something like a lead magnet, is optimizing for attention. Flywheels are optimizing for the full customer experience, lifetime value, and referrals. Loops are optimizing for learning and optimization, continuous improvement. Buyer-led marketing is optimizing for trust. So yes, marketing is different. Of course it is. It's a practice. It evolves. And as I said at the top, marketing's job is growth in the context of buyer behavior. That's constantly changing. Marketing is problem solving. So don't get discouraged by anyone saying it's hard or it's broken or it's not working. Change is inevitable. Growth is always a challenge. But just like you put that belief in your clients that that challenge is worth it, I want to instill that belief in you. The challenge of marketing, solving the problem of growth in the context of buyer behavior, is worth it. So my encouragement for you this week is to dig in deep, understand your ideal client more than they know themselves, and understand yourself deeply. If you need help digging into your content strategy, which is essentially what this is, understanding your audience, understanding yourself and your value, bringing those things together in a way that helps shape the content that you publish. I've created a custom GPT for you to map out your coaching content signature. It's just like me walking you through the steps, but it's in chat. If you want it, shoot me a DM and I will pass it your way. I'm also in the DMs on Instagram, totally willing to chat with you and help you through whatever marketing questions that you have. So leave a comment here on YouTube or hit me on Instagram if you have questions, and I will catch you in the next episode.